What's up guys, this is Dino here, and today I'll be adding the next part to What If Lieutenant Sir Sponsor Dash. Now before we begin this part, the like goal will be 30 likes in the next 12 hours. So if you hit that like goal, I will release the next part in less than 2 days. I think that's pretty affordable for me to do so. And also with graphics, so that whole thing where I said that I will be using stationary image, I will give you quicker videos and with graphics. So I'm going to work a little overtime, but no worries because I love making stories, I love making videos for you guys. And we are currently at 852 subscribers, so we have approximately, I think, 148 subscribers more to go to reach to 1k. And once we get to the 1k subscriber mark, you guys get the 1k subscriber special, which is going to be what if Ash was born in the Dragon Clan Season 2, where Champion Ash is going to travel through Kanto region. So if you guys want that story, make sure to hit the subscribe button. This beautiful subscribe graphic that you see here, this is created by Pickledale. Shout out to him. Shout out to Pickledale for making this new artwork for Ash that you saw in the thumbnail and helping a lot with this story. So guys, without further ado, let's begin. Ash woke up the next morning feeling very depressed and sour. He didn't know what to think about the battle. He basically slept all night dreaming about how the battle went different, how Raichu was not poisoned, how Raichu did not get tired, how Nidorino, after evolving, was able to defeat the Nidoqueen, and how he would depart for his next gym battle instead of thinking about this one over and over again. This was not the way he expected things to be, not at all. He basically walked into the gym battle thinking how he was going to wash Janine over and win the battle for Surge. But there was something wrong. Now that Janine pointed it out, he started to feel stagnant himself. He thought to himself when he started his journey, he set the goal of possibly battling Surge and maybe beating him. He didn't have the same drive and motivation, but why was that? Why was he so convinced that he just wanted to be as good as Surge and not better? Was it because he respected him so much? Or was it because he knew that's what his limit was? He had so many questions and not a single answer to get. He thought about going to the Indigo Plateau right away to talk to Surge, but then he realized that maybe Surge could be back in Vermilion City. He could just make a call and talk to him. Every time he is in a dilemma like this, all he has to do is talk to Surge. Every time he seems to have the right answer. He had the right answer regarding Nidoran, so he definitely will have the answer right now. So Ash went to the Pokemon Center and he dialed up the Vermilion City gym. And to his delight, Surge was there. Due to not having any current challengers on hand, he decided to come back to Vermilion City and spend some time. He asked Ash how the battle went, and Ash immediately went silent. All the happiness that he had gathered up just a moment ago simply vanished as he once again remembered the battle and all the stinging words that Janine pointed out to him. He basically started to tear up and told Serge everything that had happened. He told him exactly how he felt stagnant, how he felt that he set his goals too low, and how he felt that he let Serge down in the gym battle, which was basically about bragging rights. Sir sighs and tells Ash not to take the gym battle so seriously. Losses are a part of the game. If you don't lose, that means you just didn't try hard enough. It's basically impossible to remain undefeated without getting better. Very few people have done that, and those who have done that have not tested themselves to the degree that Ash has tested himself. He should let this be a lesson and learn from it. But that's where Ash interjects. He tells Surge that he does not know how to learn from this battle. He was basically told that every training that he has done up to this point was all for nothing. That he has hit his ceiling and he can't break through unless he changed himself completely. Sir says he kinda understands what he's talking about, but at the same time tells Ash to not take this battle seriously because the whole rivalry with Koga should not be passed down to Ash. He should not carry this burden of being such a hardcore representative of the gym. He should carry out his own journey instead of trying to fulfill Surge's dreams and promises. Ash asks him what is he supposed to do now, and Surge tells him that this question right here is the only reason why Ash is feeling so low. He Surge trusted him with the journey. He knew that somehow, some way Ash will stumble, but that's not a bad thing. He's supposed to learn from it. But if every time he runs into some trouble and he comes to Surge to ask him for advice, this will not help him grow. The reason he didn't send him on a journey to foreign lands like Koga did to Janine was because he knew that even though Ash had a lot of untapped potential within him, he just didn't have the same mindset that Janine have. And there is nothing wrong with it. Every trainer is different. Everyone has their own way of learning things. For someone, it could be traveling the world, and for others, it could be traveling the world within yourself and knowing yourself better rather than knowing other people better. You don't need to learn from other people all the time. You need to learn from yourself. You need to learn from your mistakes and look at yourself and see what you can do. Your goal should never be to be as good as someone, or be better than them. Your goal should be to be better than what you were yesterday. Ash tells Surge that he understands, but at the same time, he has no clue how to do that. And Surge tells him to remember the time that he went to Pallet Town to give his speech and how he selected Ash. And then Ash recalls the time that he, alongside Gary, watched Surge's challenge of the Elite Four and how he made it to the finals before losing to Lance. Ever since then, Surge became Ash's hero, and he always wanted to be like Surge. He wanted to battle like him and prove and push his limits to the maximum. And when Surge came to Professor Oak's ranch to give his speech, he picked Ash. It was and Then he told Ash that it was not because Ash was the brightest mind in the whole camp. It was not even because he was the strongest of them. It's because how he bonded with Pokemon. It's because how he knew what he had to do to be better. All the hurdles that all the hurdles and tests that were presented to him, he did not finish for in the first place in any of them. But what he did was he never gave up. He was a slow learner, but he learned every single time. And that's why Surge picked him, because he saw something in Ash that he didn't see in any of the trainers. Sure, he was not the most talented one, but he was the most hardworking one. He was the one who, no matter what the obstacle was always going to find a way, whether it be to work around it or just smash through it. And that's when he tells Ash that he needs to take some time off. He needs to be isolated from everything, from everyone, and just to look at himself and his team. The answer is not outside, the answer is within himself. And if he can't do that, that's the problem. He can't depend on Surge every time. So when Ash finally asks him what he's supposed to do now, Surge tells him that he will book him an appointment with the Safari Zone executives. And there is a program that they call the survival training, where basically Ash will take up the duty of a field ranger and live alongside his Pokemon without any communications and without any support from outside. He will basically be in isolation, and this will give him a chance to not only help the Pokemon living there, but also to look at himself. Nature is the best teacher, and there is nothing greater to learn than what you can learn from nature itself. And that's when Surge tells him that this will be the very last favor that he will do for him. Because he believes that without his help and even without his constant guidance and tips, Ash could succeed. And that's why he chose him. And now it's time for Ash to prove everyone wrong and prove how he can succeed. And with that, Surge does his final favors to Ash for the time being. He books Ash an appointment with the Safari Zone executives, and that's where Ash's training begins. He, alongside his Pokemons Slowpoke, Raichu, Nidoran, Nidorino, Kangaskid, and Mankey, all go to the Safari Zone to begin their training and the survival exercise for the next 4 months. The beginning was a bit rocky, basically because Mankey was still hostile towards Raichu, and this is where Ash noticed the very first flaw in his team. He had constantly been trying to push Mankey's problems away instead of dealing with them head on, just because it would be too uncomfortable for teammates to fight. But this is when he realized Mankey might feel the same way that he is feeling right now. It lost a battle to Raichu. Before that, it was the Mankey King. He ruled the mountains, and then Raichu and Ash came along and defeated him, basically took away his pride. So Mankey wants that rematch against Raichu. He needs it. And with Ash constantly pushing him away and recalling him and trying to control him, that's not helping. And that's not utilizing Mankey to his full potential. So he just looks at Raichu and asks him if he's ready to fight Mankey for just one time, to just let it all out of his system and let Mankey know that they're truly teammates and not rivals. Raichu simply nods hesitantly. He was still a bit shaken up from his loss because basically he hadn't lost a real battle other than Surge's Pokemon and Whisker's Pokemon. So this was basically a wake up call for him too. But a battle was definitely something that he was not going to refuse. And so finally, Mankey's wish came true. It finally got to have an all-out battle against Raichu once more. And as soon as the battle began, Mankey was the aggressor, as it charged forward with karate chops and low kicks, absolutely overwhelming Raichu. And that's where Ash noticed something. Raichu was lacking the same confidence that he used to have. He was constantly shelling up and blocking the punches instead of countering them that like he used to. Because due to Ash not ordering it to use any moves, Raichu was basically on the defensive, constantly blocking and just trying to avoid Mankey's shots. Mankey kept on pressing and pressing, finally pushing Raichu up against the tree. Raichu barely dodged a karate chop and finally let out a thunderbolt. But this thunderbolt was extremely weaker, a mere shadow of Raichu's normal self, and Mankey simply kicked the thunderbolt away and moved forward with another low kick. But this time Ash stepped between him and Raichu. Ash said that Raichu was in no condition to fight, and Mankey had won the battle. And although he didn't expect it, this proved to do wonders for Mankey. Mankey was finally happy that he had gotten the loss back that Raichu had handed to him. It had finally proven that he was the top dog in the team and not Raichu. Raichu, on the other hand, was just happy that the battle was over. Not only was it uncomfortable for him because he was battling a teammate, but also because he just couldn't have the same aura of confidence that he used to have. He needed some time. He needed some time to get over the loss that he had suffered. But this was good enough for Mankey, as this basically toned him down quite a lot, and it started not to obey Ash like his other Pokemon do, but just tolerate the whole teamwork aspect of it. Over the past few weeks, Ash continues to help out the Safari Zone a lot, cleaning the cleaning the area, helping Pokemon, and also preserving a rare species of Pokemon that inhabits the Safari Zone. This is of course the Dratini and Dragonairs. One Dratini in particular constantly comes to Ash whenever Ash comes near the lake to feed them, and this leads to them developing some sort of a bond, because every time Ash is there, this Dratini comes along to greet him. And with that, their training continues. Ash and his Pokemon train much harder, this time trying to develop some new strategies instead of just using brute power. And this is not easy, because Ash is basically doing something out of his comfort zone, but he knows that this is what he needs to do. It was evident from his battle against Janine that brute power was not going to win every battle. He needs to be subtle about it, and he needs to treat every Pokemon differently, because not every Pokemon has the unlimited cardio like Raichu has. Not every Pokemon has the brute power of Mankey or the potential of Nidorino. He needs to understand that every Pokemon has a different nature, just like humans. So that's what he works on. Although the start is rocky, little by little, he is beginning to get a grasp of it. One day, as he was doing his regular duties as the field ranger, a huge storm brews inside Fuchsia City, and this definitely affects the Safari Zone as well. Ash and his Pokemon do their best to evacuate every Pokemon into shelter, but what this does is that it traps themselves in the storm. This storm is extremely vicious, as Ash and all his Pokemon try to get in a shelter, and they finally find a cave. where they all cuddle up together, trying to stay warm. Raichu uses his Thunder Shock to light up a fire, as as Slowpoke uses its newly learned Confusion attack to ignite the fire a bit more as they all gather around. Even Mankey, who was at first a little hesitant, finally decides to share a marshmallow as they all cuddle and look at each other, realizing that they are finally working together as a team, like they're supposed to do. Ash finally realizes that Kanga's kid wants to get stronger just like Raichu was, and he looks up to him. He finally realizes that although Slowpoke is a slow learner, he learns everything from the very basic and rarely makes any mistake. He learns what Nidorino's problem truly was. Its nature was timid, but its ability was rivalry. So those two variables just couldn't coexist themselves properly. But this was finally something that Nidorino was starting to overcome, and it was evident from his last battle when he realized that he was the last hope due to Raichu being out. And with that, this proved to be the turning point for Ash and his team, where they all finally started to understand each other's flaws and their strengths, and treat each other as teammates, even Mankey. And with that, finally a systematic training program began for everyone. R- Raichu spent most of his time training Kanga's kid, teaching it basic punches and just endurance and cardio building exercise in general. And due to training Kanga's kid who looks up to him, Raichu finally starts to gain the same aura of confidence that he used to have. Slowpoke ended up befriending a group of Psyduck who not only teach him some cool water type attacks but also help him master his confusion attack. This starts off by Ash trying to use Slowpoke's confusion to pick small pebbles and grasses, and over time, Slowpoke learns to pick huge boulders up with his confusion, showing how far it has come. Slowpoke's improvement was definitely what Ash was hoping, and little by little, the scam that he had been involved in regarding the Slowpoke was becoming a distant memory, and he was happy to have Slowpoke for his team. He would have paid double the amount if he knew what Slowpoke would become. On the other hand, Mankey was starting to become more and more of a team player. Due to him settling his whole rivalry thing with Raichu, he was finally getting a bit more relaxed around Ash and starting to obey his command and follow his training program without causing a hassle. Nidoran was also starting to get stronger and stronger. One fine day, as they were strolling around, Nidoran ran into one of the Nidorina living in the Safari Zone. It it She was trying to call him out and say something to him, and when Ash and Nidoran followed her, they noticed a small colony of Nidorinas, and basically Nidoran in general. They told Ash's Nidorino that they were afraid of something, and something had been chasing them from their homes. Ash asked Nidorino as to what it was, and Nidorino told Ash that it was basically some other Pokemon species that were invading their home. Upon further investigation, they found out that it was a herd of Rhyhorns that were doing the deed. These Rhyhorns were stamping around the Nidoran family burrow, which caused them to run away, and Ash's Nidorino stepped up to this challenge. This was a deja vu for the poison type, as it somehow remembered battling against Brock's Rhyhorn, but this time it was going to be different. Although this battle was a tough one, Nidorino was able to edge out the battle by completely dominating Rhyhorn using double kicks and horn attacks, just showing how far it has truly come. But this only caused their leader to step up, a Rhydon. And although Nidorino had gotten quite a bit stronger, Rhydon was in a league of his own and was able to defeat Nidorino using a drill and attack. Ash was afraid that this was going to regress Nidorino back to his usual timid self, but this was not the case. Nidorino told Ash that he needed to take some time off and stay with its species and help them uh, reach a reconciliation with the Rhydon. It was going to defeat the Rhydon with its own strength, and this was a decision that Ash respected. So with that, Ash left Nidorino for the time being, along with the other members of his species, so that it could help them. On the other hand, this is where a sinister event took place. The remnants of Team Rocket decided to invade the Safari Zone at this point, and this invasion was led by a former Rocket admin named Archer. His plan was to poach every strong Pokemon in the Safari Zone in hopes of rebuilding the Team Rocket forces. He and his team were able to bypass the Safari Zone security fairly easily because the Safari Zone didn't really expect an invasion at this time. And this is where he encountered Ash, who was still on his field duty along with his Kangaskid. Ash asked him who he was, but then he recognized something. He was wearing the Team Rocket logo. He remembered Surge telling him about Team Rocket's nefarious activities a while ago and how they were disbanded. So he knew that this man was up to no good. But before Ash could stop him, his two subordinates stepped up to him and let out their Pokemon, a pair of Raticats and a Houndours. This was Ash realized that this was just a diversion for Archer to escape, so he sent out his two most powerful Pokemon, Mankey and Raichu. And to his surprise, Mankey and Raichu, finally having settled their differences, were able to work together as they started to battle the Houndours and the Raticats. This gave Ash chance to give Archer a chase, but Archer came prepared. A herd of what looked to be tranquilized toros, started to charge towards Kangaskid and Ash. Kangaskid, realizing that he needed to protect his trainer, stepped to battle the herd of toros. But of course, this was not going to be easy for it, and this is where Slowpoke came in, using his confusion attack to hold the toros back. But he was not alone. His Psyduck friends also decided to help him, but more and more tranquilized toros start to approach them, and this is where Slowpoke was pushed to its limits as it started to glow, triggering its evolution into Slowbro. All the weeks of trainings and the work that it had put in along with the Psyduck had finally paid off. Now Slowbro unleashed an advanced version of the Confusion attack, Psychic Attack. The Psychic Attack was able to stop a huge herd of Tauros and send them crashing back. And the Psychic Attack also helped them to snap out of the tranquilizer. On the other hand, Ash finally caught up to Archer, but he sent out a Houndoom to battle it. Once again, Kangaskid was outmatched, but it still tried to battle the Houndoom. Although it was on the back foot, the training that it received from Raichu was finally showing some fruits, as it was able to land some decent hits on Houndoom. But Houndoom soon overpowered the Joey Pokemon and fired off a flamethrower. But before the flamethrower could connect, the Ashes Nidorino came back, now having mastered a new move in its arsenal, Drill Run. This attack sent Houndoom crashing backwards as Nidorino landed, revealing to Ash that he had not only defeated the Rhydon but also helped the Nidoran and the Rhyhorn species reach a settlement of peace. And now the Rhydon and the Rhyhorn were not only living peacefully along with the Nidoran but were also helping to drive out Team Rocket. And Ash was very glad to hear this. But just then, Archer they noticed Archer escaping with something that was even more precious to the Safari Zone than anything else. He was escaping with a herd of Dratini, and in his arms was a net containing the same Dratini that befriended Ash a while ago. They soon boarded his helicopter as he started to fly away. Ash, realizing what was happening, asked his Slowbro for help. As Slowbro used a psychic attack to propel Ash upwards, as Ash finally landed on on the helicopter along with his Kangaskid. Kangaskid immediately started to destroy the helicopter's controls using Mega Punch attacks, a move that it learned from Raichu, and this caused the helicopter to crash down. However, before it could, once again used his psychic attacks to soften the landing quite a lot, revealing, provi- causing the Pokemon and Ash to land unharmed. Ash was not only able to save the Pokemon, but this also led to Archer being captured. The Dratini that Ash had saved and befriended over the past few months start asked Ash to join his team, and Ash was more than happy to include this Dratini in his team. making it his sixth capture. And now with his team full of six Pokemon, the training continued for the last 2 months. And this is where they pushed beyond their limits, improving more and more. And when the time had come for them to leave, the team was almost unrecognizable. Everyone was in sync. Even Dratini, who was a part of added to the team recently, was beginning to catch up to them. On the other hand, Ash was not the only one training. Silver was preparing hard for his next gym battle, and he was battling in a dark alley using his Sand Slash to battle a bunch of electrodes. And although the electrodes had the number advantage on the ground type, it was able to defeat them, showing the fruits of his training. This is when Nappa approached Silver and asked him if all this training was really necessary, and Silver told him that his next gym battle might be the toughest one yet, because this was going to be against Whiskers, and he did not want to let left any stones unturned. He needed the gym badge, and he needed that at any cost. And guys, that's where I'll be ending this part off. Sorry if I stumbled a lot during the video, because I'm trying out a new format where instead of writing the whole script, I'm just using key points throughout the presentation. And clearly I'm not that good at joining the key points, so I may go back to writing the whole script anyways. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Once again, the like goal will be 30 likes in the next 12 hours, and make sure to subscribe it. Huge shout out to Pickle Deal for the artwork and for the subscribe GIF that you see throughout the video. And I will see you guys soon.